welcome back to Take a Walk with Goldie. And I know it's been a minute. A lot of you are angry with me, but trust me, I have prepared a lot of interesting topics that we're going to cover in the next few weeks. I mean, we're going to be speaking about relationship, partnerships, sex, you know, you guys like those hot gists, and domestic abuse, a lot of things, like basically the whole 9 yards we're going. I usually delay with my vlogs because for some goddamn reason I get anxiety. It's not like there are people watching me or anything like that, but I always want to create the best content for you guys, and I never want my words to be misinterpreted or used out of context. So stay with me. I hope you guys are gonna enjoy this topic today. We're gonna start from the roots of all our issues, parenting and motherhood. So stay tuned. Don't forget to like and share and subscribe and follow me everywhere. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Snappy Chatty. So just follow me everywhere, and I hope you enjoy. To me, when we talk about parenting or motherhood, I think that is the most important topic of all topics. Now, being a parent is what establishes the future generation, the future adults, you know, and there are a lot of things that have gone wrong in the past with our families, with our friends, that come from a lack of understanding of what we should do as parents. You know, there's so much information out there right now. Like, if you follow the internet, trust me, you are going to get lost half the time. And when it comes to parenting, sometimes practice makes perfect, but at the same time we don't have the opportunity to make so many mistakes, because remember, you're creating and molding an individual, a person that is absorbing all that energy and all that information. So if you yourself as a parent, as an adult, is not stable enough to educate a young individual, just know you're creating chaos. Being a parent is the foundation of all creations. Having the ability to structure another human being into the adults they're supposed to become, you know, knowing what is right and wrong, you know. And most of the times, most of us actually had very bad upbringing, not because it was bad, but because our parents were not enlightened. Our parents had limited to no knowledge at all, so it was almost impossible for them to direct us on a path that would best serve us in the future. You know, they did the best they could do with what information they had. But the truth is, at this point in life, there's no excuse for bad upbringing. There's no excuse for creating bullies. There's no excuse for creating selfish people anymore, because we have every single tool it takes to educate us in a way that we can help our kids become even better than us. You see, with kids, they're supposed to be an upgrade of us, you know. And this is why this topic is very important to me, because I am going to be 34 years old in December, and I'm not going to lie, when it comes to parenting, I think I am doing a good job right now, but there were moments of my being a mother that I made a lot of mistakes that I wasn't aware of. You know, I thought it was for the benefit of my daughter, or there were a lot of choices I made when my daughter was growing up that wasn't healthy and wasn't correct for her. You know, like, for example, staying in a bad situation, staying in a bad relationship with the idea of, oh, this is a family supposed to fight for each other. You know, there are a lot of things I did that influenced the way my daughter grew up. You know, I was lucky enough that God was on my side, and I was able to unlearn most of the things I learned, you know, most of the things I knew, the idea of family or parenting and all that, you know. I had to train my mind to be better and be stronger. It wasn't an easy journey, I can tell you for a fact, but today, right now, at this moment, I can actually say I have managed to become a stronger individual, a stronger woman, and a stronger mother, based on the things I had to force myself to learn. There were a lot of times that I thought I made the right decisions, but this is life. But when we speak about parenting, first of all, let's even start here. Kudos to all you women out there. I give you the thumbs up, high five, whatever you want to call it. I give you all the respect, because number one, it takes a strong-minded person to have a child. You see, nowadays in society, you look at it as, A woman is supposed to give birth, a woman is supposed to do that. That's her responsibility as a woman. But the process of actually having an individual, a little seed planted in your stomach, and having to grow that and nurture that human being, and it's honestly, it's such a sacrifice, you know. Sometimes I wonder why men in nowadays, they hold women to so little value, because when you think of the process of recreating a human being, like, sometimes I really think I'm a goddess, because it's not easy at all. There are a lot of women who lose their lives in the process of having this child, you know, this child who's going to be the future, going to be part of the new generation, you know, going to be, you know, the new big thing, you know. But again, because of the way we were raised and the way parenting has become, I also understand why we are undervalued, you know, unappreciated, you know. But I think that if we move forward in the right direction, we can change a lot of things. Now let's go back to the beginning. You see, a lot of parents feel like their child or their kids or whatever the case might be are their children. Now, one thing parents need to understand is you are a vessel for a being, for a human being. You're merely carrying this life, which doesn't belong to you. This life belongs to the world, because your job as a parent is supposed to nurture this being into becoming his ultimate self, her ultimate self, you know. You are adding value to God's plan. You are adding value to the future generation. A lot of people misunderstand this. They think it's all about me, it's my child, no. Whatever the standards you create for your kid is what's going to make the future. I was privileged enough to live on two sides of the world. You know, I lived in Africa. I was born in Lagos, you know, and I also lived in Europe. So the one thing I noticed is that there's a complete imbalance when it comes to parents. See, you can go ahead and read books on how to raise your child and how to be a perfect parent, but let me tell you something. Each child that is born on this earth is a completely different individual. It's a completely different person. So as much as it's okay to use guidelines from people's experiences, you kind of also have to understand what it is that you're doing with your child. You see, on the African side of town, a lot of us feel like it is enough to be strict. It is enough to just provide for our kids, to send them to school, to try to create some kind of career, which half the time it is forced, you know. And then on the European side, it is an excess of love. And when I say excess of love, like, there are no structures in place. There's no boundaries set in stone, you know. It's like, oh, don't worry, it's just a child, let them grow. And half of the young adults I have seen in Europe, apart from the ones that were actually nurtured correctly, they're kind of crazy. It takes a village to raise a child. It takes the love of God to raise a strong child. You see, in Europe, we always say the first 7 years of home is the most important time. You know, this 7 years of home is the most important, you know. This is the time where, this is a space where a child is like a sponge, you know. It absorbs everything from positive to negative to everything. When it comes to fear, everything is molded into a child at this age, you know. So when it comes to the European way of raising children, they actually they give a lot of love without structure. Now the African side, they give a lot of structure without love. You see, it's an imbalance. You see, I watch movies and I see kids, you know, from rich families, and they are all so ungrateful, you know. And a lot of times I sit back and I'm like, why are you not grateful? You have everything you want. But you see, the thing is, pushing down wealth through a child, like onto a child, and expecting them to appreciate you because, oh my God, you work so hard and you do all these things for them, it doesn't make a child healthy. It doesn't make them gain confidence. all you're doing is just buying their attention and buying their silence, basically. Most of these movies I watch, there's a lack of love and dedication to the child. So it's normal that you end up with crazy children who want to prove themselves and just want to act completely out of character, because again, there is an imbalance in raising that child. Making this video specifically for new mothers. A lot of women are pregnant right now, or they just had a baby, or they're going through the process of wanting to conceive. But you have to understand one thing. Your child is a perfect example of you. What you instill in them is who they are going to become. Of course, every child is born with a specific mission and a specific gifts, and they need to be enhanced. But also what a child absorbs from the parents creates the complete, like a total different outcome, So when you think of parenting, you have to make sure you as a parent are emotionally stable enough to raise a child. Now, when I say that, I say this: a lot of women go through this process of heartbreaks or bad situations, or they had bad families, and they get married, they never clear that karma, they never clear those things that held them back, they never cleared their insecurities, they never worked on these things, because to them it's life, But you see, when you decide to be a parent, you literally pass down these same traits from you onto your children without even recognizing it, without even realizing you're doing that. You're literally passing those things to them, you see. And when you end up with kids that are schizoid and they're crazy and acting out of character, you ask yourself, but why me? Well, remember, guys, you are the creators of the future. You can redirect your energy into bettering yourself in order to better your kids. But you see, nobody wants to talk about this. It's all fun and games. These days, a lot of people get excited with the idea of, oh, I want to have a child because I saw it on Instagram. Like, oh my God, did you see those cute baby pictures? But listen, having kids is not that easy. Having kids, it's a full-time job. It's literally, oh my goodness, it's not about cute photos. Yes, children are the ultimate gift and they're the ultimate satisfaction in life, but if you do not raise them correctly, and raising them correctly means you working on yourself, working on your demons, working on the things that make you feel less of a human being, you will never be able to achieve that greatness in your child. Now, half of the problems we have in the world today is because of lack of education. We have to unlearn so many things. We fail so much in business because of the way we were raised. We fail so much in love because of the way we were raised. We fail in the most simplest aspects of life because of the way we were raised, because we came from parents who neglected us or didn't have time, or whatever the case might be. There are a lot of you women out there right now that want to make babies just to hold a man down. Now, instead of trying to make a child to hold a man down, why don't you try to work on yourself to see why you even feel the need to be in a situation like that? Growing up in my family wasn't the most loving situation, and I have no regrets towards that. I mean, a few here and there, but growing up in my family, I didn't feel loved. I used to think I was a special child, From young, I always felt like there was something different about me, the way I expressed myself. But because I wasn't nurtured correctly, I rebelled a lot. You see, when it came to love in my family, like, just think about it. My mom was a young, beautiful lady who had a baby for my dad, moved to Nigeria at such a delicate age when she herself hasn't experienced life. She herself hasn't developed in a way a woman should. She was a child, in my opinion, So switching from Romania at a teenage age to coming over to Nigeria and having to deal with the change of mentality, having to deal with the lack of everything, having to deal with a man that honestly was very educated. School-wise, he was on point. He was an A student. but emotional wise, he was deprived. He was lacking in this department. So if you put those two together, an adult male who is smart book-wise but emotionally unstable, and a young lady who hasn't even figured out what she wants to be, having a baby. Like, just imagine putting those two together. Now, back in those days, you would think that this was the way it was supposed to be. You find a man, you get married, you have kids, blah, blah, blah. But you see, that dynamic was a recipe for disaster. Now, they went ahead and had 4 beautiful children, and there comes the problem. You see, a lot of African families feel like it's enough to provide, it's enough to make sure they go to school, it's enough to just make sure they survive. But being a parent is way more than just having a child and providing for them. When I talk about balance, you have to create that balance. You have to give equal provision for life, and you have to balance it with love and dedication. It's not all about saying, oh, I love you, I love you, I love you. It's about what you show them, what you instill in them, how you make their minds grow in a positive kind of way. When it came to my father, may his soul rest in peace, as much as he did the best he could do. And at this age, I realized that. But growing up, I had a lot of resentment towards him because he would judge us based on the way he was raised, He wasn't raised in a loving family. He was raised with, oh, you must struggle to achieve something. So to him, he imposed those same rules on his children. Like, I remember clearly growing up, I would ask my father, oh, can we have that, or can you buy that? And he'll be like, no, you can't have that, because when I was young, I didn't have that. When I was young, I had to walk to school without shoes when I was young. These were the stories continuously we heard. And I'm like, as a young kid, I'm like, okay. But now as an adult, I realized, like, wait, hold up. You really didn't have to have kids. You made a choice, a decision to have these children, and literally you're punishing them based on situations that happened in your life. Now, your job as a parent is supposed to make sure you're emotionally stable enough to have these kids and to be able to provide the best of everything for them. You don't bring kids into the world to literally torture them because, oh my goodness, you didn't have it. And that's a sin on its own. You're supposed to become better. You're supposed to upgrade your kids. You're supposed to want the complete best for them. Nowadays, my age group, the 80s babies, we have no structure. You see, we were taught to be strong and just to be strong. But what does it mean to be strong? We were taught that, oh, you had to either study accounting, engineering, be a lawyer, or be a doctor. That's all. Yes, we were sent to school, but first of all, our parents imposed a lot of things on us that were not us. Like I always say, children have their own characters. They have their own gifts. Your child is not you. So as a parent, you're supposed to nurture the child. You're supposed to observe the child. You're supposed to see, okay, this is a human being. Okay, what am I gonna do to make this child better? And you have to be very observant to see what are their traits, what are the things that make them them. It's not about trying to impose a goal that you couldn't achieve in your life. You see, for my father, it was very crucial for you to either be a lawyer or a doctor or an accountant. But come on, imagine if everyone in Africa was a lawyer, doctor, or an accountant. What's gonna happen to the world, honestly? Because all our parents did this to us, For them, that was the biggest achievement, But you see, I learned to appreciate that even those people who work in the stores are equally as important. Those people who clean the streets are equally important. Yes, their lives might not have gone in the way they would have loved to, and that's what they could, deal with, but we need every kind of person. I remember telling my father I strictly wanted to study interior design, and you know what he told me? He said, if you do that, I wouldn't pay for your school. And he was dead ass serious. He wasn't even joking. And you see, because of that mentality, I ended up getting into the university, which, by the way, I got on a scholarship. And I actually studied business administration for 4 years. By the way, mind you, I came out with a 9.5, which I'm very proud of, but that was the most miserable 4 years of my life. I looked around and I'm like, I should be doing interior design. This is what I want. I deal better with colors. It's in my DNA. I didn't really understand things, but you know who you're supposed to become. It's in you, you feel it. And I'm over here wasting the best years of my life when I could be absorbing something I want. I'm studying this to please a man. That is for what though? For what at the end of the day? Because I'm miserable. If you train your kids in a way that they are not happy with their lives and they're not comfortable with who they're becoming, you failed as a parent. And let's not even speak about that. Let's speak about something else. You see, half of the problems we have in life right now comes from insecurities, lack of confidence. You know, even I right now, just making this video alone gave me so much anxiety, because I had to go through a train of thought like, oh, what if they don't like it? Or what if the doubts, that irritating doubt, you know, what if people don't like it? But guess what if they do? You see, we were not taught to appreciate ourselves. We have women in the world right now, like literally every time I open my TikTok or my Instagram, I see women crying. Women crying because a young man doesn't appreciate them. Women crying because they have their hearts broken into smithereens. Nobody's doing or saying anything about it, because it has become such a trend for us now to hurt, to ghost, that, you know, it's normal now. But you see, where our parents failed is teaching us our worth, teaching us our value as men and women. It's not just women who suffer, men suffer too. But nobody instilled this in us. Nobody taught us how to be the greatest version of ourselves. You see, when a child is born without fear. A child is like an empty, blank canvas. They're ready to absorb everything. They ask. I remember when I used to say my daughter was going through the terrible twos, you know, between 2 and 3, she would ask a million questions. But mommy, why this? But mommy, why that? You know, she had so many questions that at that point I'm like, oh God, could you shut up? But now I understand what they were doing. They were trying to pick what is good from bad. You see, kids are born with instincts naturally. So they know what is good and bad. They can sense if something is dangerous or not. But you see, half of the fears we have now are not fears of our own. They're fears that were placed on us by our parents, by our family members, by our surroundings. These are fears. You see, a father is supposed to teach his daughter how to love herself and treasure herself in a way that she doesn't allow any man walk over her. Sure, there will be heartbreaks, because even when you get it completely right, something might still go wrong. But you're supposed to teach us, you're supposed to instill these things in us so that we don't make mistakes in the future, so that we know how to guide ourselves, so that we, even in the worst kind of situations, we know how to come out of it victorious. But no, we were imposed fear. Fear this, fear that, fear that, fear that, fear that. Literally, all the fears I have right now were not mine. None of them were mine. The fears I have today were the fears of my father, my young father. And it's not fair, because it has slowed me down in so many ways. Like even the act of procrastinating, that's not me. It was something that was put in me, wrongly placed in me. Now it became part of my DNA. Now it became part of who I am, you know, walking through life always afraid and doubting, you know. When it comes to relationships, growing up, oh my God, you couldn't even talk about a boy. You couldn't even think about the idea of a boy. You were going to hell straight, you know, first of all. And this happens through all African families, you know. You have parents who don't teach you what it is to be a woman, or don't teach you what it is to be a man. I can only speak from a woman's point of view, but I know a lot of young men who have had things put on them that were not supposed to be there. You see, as a woman, they don't teach you when your menstrual cycle comes what you should expect, when your hormones start what you should expect. And this is also because we have lack of information. We can blame our parents, but we can't completely blame our parents because they were moving on lack of information. They didn't have the luxury we have today. We have the internet, we have a lot of things that can help us. We have great doctors now. Back then it wasn't like that. So you see, apart from a young lady going through her menstrual cycle and everything, nobody prepares you for the hormonal changes in you. Nobody explains these things to you. You know, when you start going through that hormonal stage and you start getting attracted to little boys here and there, like, hey cutie and all of that, nobody tells you how you should be. It's a taboo. Like, no, don't do that. If you have sex, you're gonna go to hell. Explain to your kids why. Explain to your kids how important it is. That listen, I'm an adult. I can tell you, like, that thing right there, it's interesting. It's good. But you see, that's the thing. Before you indulge in situations like that, you have to be mentally ready for things like that. You have to be grown enough and developed enough and ready for actions like that. But no, for us it was no, 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 no. You know. And then when you get to a certain age in life, they start asking you, but where's the boyfriend? Where's the husband? Where are the grandkids? Bro, how do you want those things to happen? Now, you were supposed to educate me on how it is I should get to that perfect partner in life, but you didn't. You were too busy creating obstacles and creating known barriers for us that nobody knows how to be. We got into relationships out of fear. We got into relationships because in our minds, uneducated minds, we thought it was the next best thing. I mean, we saw our friends doing it, so we did it too. A lot of kids have sex because, ooh, their friends did it, so we're gonna do it too because we want to be part of the cool kids. But imagine being raised the right way and knowing that no matter what other people do, it's like if you see your friend jump off the bridge, do you do it? Explaining these things to them. See, when it comes to my daughter, it is because I was brought up in a family where we couldn't really talk about a lot of things. So there are a lot of conversations she comes up with that actually freaks me out, I'm not gonna lie. And they're out of nowhere. But as a parent, before I answer anything, I have to take my time and pull back and think, okay, what am I feeding her with? How am I gonna respond to this question that will educate her, enlighten her, and just calm her nerves a bit, you know? What am I gonna tell her that she would understand that, okay, this is how life is, you know? And I take my time. There are a lot of uncomfortable questions my daughter asks me that I'm like, am I ready for that? But as a parent, I have to give her the best advice, not from a selfish point of view of, oh, she shouldn't know that, or oh no, but in a way that would help her grow. We need to help our kids. We really need to help them. You see a lot of boys, you know, when I look at women who go through heartbreaks and they go through so much emotional uncertainty and they have male kids, you would think that they would use this opportunity to instill greatness in them, direct them on a path that would help them be better, stronger. But no, what do? When their kids do something, the fathers cheer them up, hey, that's my boy. When the mother hears that the boy has a girlfriend, oh, that's my baby. You know, this doesn't help anyone. This doesn't make you better. You're not helping that child by giving them credit for things, milestones that they haven't achieved yet. You see, when you find out that your son is going through his own changes, because I don't know what you may go through, but I'm sure you go through your own changes, you have to educate them. Make them know the importance of being a man, turning from a boy, from an immature boy into a man. Explain taking the time to explain to them how valuable a woman is. Explaining to them how their bodies work so they know how to be tender and gentle towards the females. But you see, a lot of people function from an ego and pride point of view, so they instill this, they make an immature boy feel macho for no reason. We have people crying out here. We have heartbreaks. We have depression, which, by the way, that's another topic we're going to have. But we have people committing suicides because our mothers had no time to educate us, to turn us into kings. You see, mothers, women are queens. And our boys are kings. All of us, each one of us. But because we are not educated the right way, because we lack understanding, we become wayward. Like we're just nobodies now. You see, a man will look at me and think, she's just another cute face. You miss the essence of me. You miss the greatness of me. You lower my greatness into this, and because I wasn't educated the right way, and my emotional intelligence is zero almost, not zero, I'm saying, I fall for that. I take myself from a pedestal of being a queen to a nobody, and I accept that and I run with that. So whoever else comes my way, that's how I'm gonna present myself, like a broken piece of nothing. We are all kings and queens. We need to do better. We need to learn to be better. But you see, our generation will never change. Our generation is upgrading. We're becoming smarter, wiser. We are all with the electronics and with the pages and everything. But you see, what starts here is way stronger than anything around us. But you see, if here is down here, we will never be more than what we are. Let's even speak about bullies. We have bullies in school. Where do you think bullying came from? You see, when my daughter was being bullied in school by certain kids, I looked at them. As much as it affected my daughter, I had to understand where the problem was coming from. You see, these were kids that came to school and looked normal. But when you look behind their behavior, you realize these are kids that were craving attention. They were craving love. You see, a lot of parents feel like, oh, okay, we're just gonna have these babies because we're married now, it's the next best thing to do. Which, by the way, just because you're married doesn't mean you should go ahead and have kids immediately. How about you take your time to learn who your partner is? How about you enjoy yourself with your partner? Travel the world with your partner. Learn things, make plans for the future kids. But no, you don't do that. You feel like just because you're married, you're entitled to give birth to a nice king or queen. You see, now when that king or queen comes, you don't know what to do with them. You ship them to their grandmother's house, or you're always busy. You see, you're gonna be working for the rest of your life, but your kids are suffering. It is not enough to put food on the table and send them to school and think that's it. Your child needs attention. Your child needs care. Your child needs devotion. Your child needs a different kind of love that you are not even ready, because you yourself don't know it. You yourself don't know. Now, in my opinion, before anybody even gets into marriage, they should go to therapy. Now, we could sit here and make fun of therapists and, oh, they just take your money. But guess what? They're teaching you a different perspective of life that you never even thought you could rise up to. They're teaching you and giving you something of value that you can't get anywhere else, because you can't walk on only the knowledge you know. This is why we have books, to open your brain up to greatness, to enlighten you on the possibilities of the world. Now, if you come from an uneducated background, and when I say uneducated, I'm talking about not book-wise, I'm talking about emotional-wise. If you come from a background that they're not open enough, or they're not ready to learn, how do you think you would upgrade? You're only going to be moving on frequencies that you're currently aware of. You need to upgrade your frequency. You need to upgrade yourself, and the only way to do that is by learning things. Before anyone should get married, they should go to therapy. Now you need to make sure you're mentally capable and ready for that commitment. You need to be ready for the fact that when you do have kids, what are you going to instill in them? Are you going to impose your weaknesses into them? Because guess what? It is easier to teach a child how to be weak and fail than to teach a child how to be great. Now, teaching a child how to be great means that even when you're down as a parent, you got to get the hell up and help your child. Even when you want to cry, when you're backed against the wall, you have to stop everything you're doing and pay attention to your child. Being a great parent means you never get the freedom of neglecting your child. That is your job. That is your responsibility. This is what you signed up for. You see, your feelings don't matter when your child is involved. Your child needs support. Your child is a sponge that is taking in everything and absorbing every form of energy and passion, and you teach them how to love. But you see, when you don't do what you're supposed to do, they lack. A lot of bullies, like I was saying, if you look at them deep down, their anger, their frustration towards people comes from a lack of not having that nurturing love, that dedication. It is not enough to just give education and school and food and think, oh, my job is done, I'm a parent now, yada. No. You have to dig into them. You have to figure out what they want, what they're supposed to be. Help them be the ultimate best. You're supposed to, the way you feel passion for that partner when you meet them the first time, that's how you should feel every time you focus on your kids. Do you know how many days I wanted to break down in tears and just cry about anything? Oh, the money ain't coming. Oh, the man is like this. Oh, I wish I could just sit down and cry. But I had to pick myself up. I had to say, hell no. My baby is seeing this. You see, I don't want to teach my daughter how to be weak. I don't want to teach my daughter. Now, certain things happen in life and they go through moments. But I want to teach her that even when those bad moments come, even when you feel you're failing, you're still winning. Because you can understand and you can process the information you're getting and rise up and become even better, even stronger. I want her to see me, I don't want her to always see me strong. I want her to understand how I move when I'm weak. So even when I want to cry and fall, I cry. But the way I get up, that's it. That's where the key is. It's not about you crying. It's about the get up. It's not about you failing. It's about how you get up. Now, you can allow failure control you, or you can accept failure as a learning tool to help you be better. Maybe you need to refocus your energy somewhere else. Maybe you need to just, think about things from not this angle, but from this angle. I mean, if this one doesn't work, think about it from this. These are things you have to teach your kids, to instill in them. It's not enough to be an Instagram parent. Motherhood is crazy. It's the hardest thing I've ever had to do. Now, if I had to sit a 9-to-5 job every single day, it would be way more easier. I would nag about it, but it would be easier than being a parent. Being a parent is, shit is crazy. But you see, as much as it is hard, it is still the biggest gift you will ever receive. But you need to nurture yourself in order to receive this gift. Because this gift is not your gift to have. Like I keep saying, you're just a man, you're a vessel. You hold the space in you to raise a child, but that child isn't yours. That child is the future generation. So whatever you do to that child today, the world is going to feel it tomorrow. Whatever you set for that child is what is going to change everything for the better. You see, Corona came and messed everybody up. Corona came and took things from us, We've lost a lot of people this year. But if there's one thing it did, it made me aware. It made me slow down. It made me think about, okay, what's the next step? Where am I messing up? It awakened me spiritually on a different level. And I'm now thinking like, whoa, hold on. We had this whole thing wrong from the beginning. The way we love, our fears, our passion. It's all screwed up. We would love to sit and blame the internet for all the internet is showing us how we should be, or influencing our minds and everything. But we're so quick to point the finger at the internet, at Instagram, at TikTok, and all the models we see there, when we should be pointing the fingers at ourselves, because our parents didn't raise us the way we should be raised. Because you see, if our parents took the time to instill greatness in us, we would never look somewhere else and think, oh, I should be like that, I should do that. You would follow your path, because you have everything it takes. You have all your chakras open. You see, a lot of people don't understand, as much as women have intuition, men have the same thing. But our third eyes are all closed. We would love to blame other people for the mistakes we made. We would love to blame the internet. We would love to blame everything. But we make the mistakes. We make the mistakes. But you see, going into 2021, it is time to change that. Be the change you expect of the world. If you don't want to change, how do you expect the young ones to do it? If you don't want to accept that you're immature as a human being, how do you expect everyone else to change? You see, we keep fooling ourselves, Parenting is no joke. It is the hardest goddamn game out there. But let me tell you something, be ready for it. I remember when I first started being insecure. You see, as a child, I always felt like I was gorgeous, I was beautiful, and I still feel like that now. But of course, my idea of beauty has been tainted a lot. I would never forget this one, and I say it all the time to people who know me. I used to have this habit of standing in front of the mirror posing, and I'm like, oh, I'm so gorgeous, And every time my dad would walk into the house, he would say, oh, do you know, you're very beautiful. And my reaction of an innocent child was, don't worry, you don't have to tell me, I already know. And this went on, this went on all the time. He would come in. I was, for some reason, even till now, I still do it. Even my ex was like, damn, you're always in the mirror. Yeah, because if I don't have to wait for you to admire me, I admire myself enough. And I see my flaws. I know the things that don't make me feel very happy. So I look at myself long enough to embrace those parts of me. Do you understand? So one day my dad comes home from work. I didn't notice his face because I was too into myself. I was a child. I was still into myself, loving myself. And he says, you know you're beautiful, right? And I say what I always say. Oh, you don't have to tell me, I already know. And my dad, with a fury, with an anger, he came into the house, which I was too young to pay attention to what was going on. He looked at me and says, come on, shut up there. The only reason I tell you you're beautiful is because you're my daughter. You're not actually that beautiful. It's so funny. It's so funny that those words marked the rest of my life. Those words became a melody in my head. When people look at me and they'll be like, oh, you're beautiful, before you know it, they'll be so quick. In fact, I would almost anticipate and wait for them to say, but. Sorry guys, I just got a little bit carried away. So like I said, that comment my father made that day, to him, he was just angry, going through his own motions, but he didn't realize how much that marked me. You see, now when people tell me I'm beautiful and gorgeous, I wait for the buts. And because that fear was always in me, I literally attracted that same energy towards me. Because you are what you think. You create what you think. You see, because I always waited for somebody to say, but you're not all that, you're not. That's exactly what I created in the future. I ended up choosing people who thought I was gorgeous, but there was always a but. Oh, but your acne. Oh, but these are things I couldn't control. Oh, but you know, if you went to the gym, your stomach would be better. Oh, you know, if you had bigger boobs, I would love you more. Oh, but damn. There was always a but. I stayed years of my life not feeling like I was enough or beautiful enough or good enough, and I always constantly looked for approval from people. You see, those were not Those were not my faults. They were instilled in me. They were placed in there. You have to learn to teach your children, whether they are cute or not, whether they are ugly or not. That doesn't matter. Your children are perfect. Whether or not your neighbor thinks they're good enough, that's their business. Your kids are perfect. You teach them like that. You show them. Maybe one's leg is shorter than the other. Doesn't matter. They're your kids. Your job is not to tear them apart. Your job is not to put fear in their minds. Your job is not to put doubt in their mind. Your job is to make them feel like kings and queens, and that's it. You see, it took me years, even to my last relationship, not the last one. I've never been turned down so much in my whole life. I literally watched a person break me into pieces, which that's going to be another topic of discussion for another vlog. But I spent the last 3 years working on myself, trying to build myself back, trying to go back into, especially during Corona, I had to go back into those things that made me feel weak and attack them. And oh my God, when I say it was the hardest thing I ever had to do, because I had to relive moments. I had to relieve situations and say, okay, this is the emotion that was created. This is how it made me feel. And this was my reaction. Now I had to relive all those moments. And I had to tell myself, you know what, babes? Regardless of how smart you are or how smart you're not, regardless if the world thinks you're cute or not, regardless if you got your life together or not, regardless if you have the money you need or not, you're enough. You are enough. You are everything you need. I started looking at myself in the mirror. Oh, we got flaws though. We all got flaws. Everybody on this planet right now has something they don't like about themselves. And half of the time is because they were not taught to love themselves well enough. So they look at people, they look at A and X. But guess what? If we all look the same, what's the fun in that? Where's the diversity? Where's the, you know? We're not supposed to look all alike. But now half of us are structured the same freaking way because of insecurities that were placed in our heads. Now I have to look at myself every day, and I picked all the things that I consider to be flaws. And I had to work on them one by one. I still have moments when I'm like, damn, but I don't like that though. Nah. For many years I thought cellulite was a flaw. I would look at people Photoshop perfect with no cellulite, and I'd be like, well, why is my skin like this? Why is my that? You know when I stopped caring about cellulite? When I gave birth to my daughter. You see, my daughter came out of my vajayjay with cellulite. She was few minutes old and she had cellulite. You see, you can go your whole life not wanting to have stretch marks, cellulite, a little belly fat here and there. You could make yourself hate your own self. But to what good is it? You see, what you think is a flaw to a man, to a real man, it's delightful. I have so many stretch marks on my body that sometimes I'm like, okay, whatever. And I got them from pregnancy. But not one day did I look at them and think, oh, ugh. No, they're mine. You ain't gotta like it, they're mine. I actually don't have a problem with that. Yes, sometimes about the cellulite thing, I get like, damn, but look at her skin. But guess what? That is her. It ain't got nothing to do with you. I had to build myself up by looking at myself. You see, every time I go live, my sister used to laugh at me. She's like, oh, you're so full of yourself. You go back to watch your lives. Yes, I do. I want to learn. I want to relearn. The things I say, sometimes it doesn't click till I go back and watch them, and I'm like, okay, I can improve there. I can do that better. That's how you grow. That's how you become better. But you see, if there's nobody to teach you these things, you're gonna fail. You're bound. A lot of people are immature these days, not because they want to, not because they don't want to get up and do things like superheroes, but because they didn't have the right balance. You see that thing in people that are like, oh, let's go get it, let's go get this money. Some days I just want to be lazy and say I don't want to do nothing. Because when I think back about, oh, all the doubts, all the insecurities, I'm like, you know what? What's the point? But the point is this, the point is you. The point is make the change for you, not for everybody. I used to go my whole life thinking, oh, I had to be rich, I had to have this, I had to that. Nah, I want to be comfortable. Yes, I would like to travel from here and there sometimes, but I'm at the point where I don't give a rat's what people think. Because guess what? I could travel all over the world and I could drive the fanciest car and I could lavish, spend money like crazy outside just to please you, and at the end I come home and I'm miserable. I'm miserable. I'm looking at my bank account like, damn, just to please you. Because somehow we have created that insecurity in us that we are only great when we are great for the public. My dear, you're enough. I settle for love any damn day. I take love. I take it. A man that would hold you, a man that has already focused on his inner, like focused on himself emotionally, knows, has a balance, you know. A man that will look at you and celebrate you and encourage you, and even on those days when you're weak, say, come on, let's go. I settle for that before any Louis Vuitton and any Gucci ever. Because that's what brings true happiness though. Having someone to share your life with and you can grow with. You don't have to be the same, because that's how life is. Men are logic, women are emotional. Together, it's yin and yang. Why do you think God created yin and yang? That's how it's supposed to be. But you see, most relationships go bad because there's this desire to prove yourself, this desire I don't even know what it is. But anyway, you guys are going to know my opinions on relationships on my next. Another thing, very important. As parents, you have to be very careful of the other kids in the family. You see, parents pay attention to the firstborns a lot, you know. They instill what they instill in them, and then when it comes to the second one, they kind of neglect the second one, and by the time they get to the third one, there goes the third one. But you see, there's so much hatred and insecurities built through siblings. You see, one of them doesn't feel like they're getting enough attention because maybe the parent somehow likes that one more, whatever the case might be. So they attack. They attack each other. They make, see, I have seen beautiful people, very amazing people that did not feel like they were good enough or they were deserving of something good because their brothers made them feel bad. Their brothers made them feel small. So there's no compassion, there's no love anymore. Most men don't want to be in relationships because of the situations they've been through with their brothers and sisters. You know, reminding them how they're not good enough, how they will never be anything great in life. So, you know, you have to be mindful of your kids. Be mindful of the adults you bring around your children. Be mindful of your aunties, uncles, and everybody. And this is why I say till day, I am ready to cut anyone out of my life that does not add value to my life. I don't care who you are. It could be family. You could be anything. If you're not adding significant value to my life, and when I say value, I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about value. The things that help me be better. If your job as a family member is to break me down and you want to see how far you could push to bring out my angry side, this happens with uncles, brothers, sisters. You know, this happens all the time. If you're going to push me, I don't want you in my life. I will love you from a distance. I don't ever want to be around people that are not on a higher vibration. I need to be able to learn from you, or you learn from me. But you're not going to bring me to a point where I doubt myself. You're not going to destroy all the work I have done because you're a family. So parents, pay attention to the uncles, brothers. Pay attention when you see there's something negative going on within the family dynamics. Fix it. Don't shut your eye to it, or you think, oh, because they're family, they'll get over it. No. I tell my daughter every day, you see the way kids act to other kids? Let me not ever catch you saying anything negative or trying to bring another human being down, because number one, you don't know what they feel here. You could catch them at a very bad time in their day or in their lives that they don't feel they're good enough, and the last thing they need is you pointing out things that you shouldn't even be discussing. I tell my daughter this every time, if not every day, whenever she goes to school: do not let me catch you. Let me not hear that you try to bring another person down. I don't care what you're going through. You come and talk to me. You know, so I'm not in the business of being around people that try to bring me down. It's so crazy that sometimes when it comes to love, I would push and push, and it's almost like I want your validation. I want you to validate this feeling I have. But the truth is, the sooner we learn to cut out people, family, or whatever it is that doesn't serve our highest good, the better for us. We'll be healthier that way. Just to end this, listen, I get passionate when I talk. I get excited because there's just so much, and there's so much to be discussed, but I don't want to make this vlog too long. But what I can say is educate yourself. If you feel like analyze yourself. If you feel like there are areas in your life that you need to pay attention to work towards improving, work on them now. Don't bring children into this world just to torture them and break their souls down. You see, a lot of times we do things we don't think our children see, but they see everything, they hear everything, they feel everything. So make sure you're emotionally elevated. Make sure you're vibrating on a high frequency. Make sure you're able to learn and unlearn things, so that even when you make mistakes, because as a parent you will make mistakes, and I will make mistakes. I might make one tonight, I might make one tomorrow. Pay attention. Focus on creating a better generation. Your kids are not yours alone, you know. Become better. Become better for them, so that in return you can reap the benefits of a well-balanced child. This is all we're asking for. You want to show your child love? Balance it out. Give them education, provide good shelter, provide emotional stability. Make sure you groom them down to the last, down to every. Make sure there's no stone unturned when it comes to raising your child. Make sure you create time for them, and make sure your job, your work is not your number one priority, because your kids is. As much as you think you're providing financially for them, you're breaking them. So make sure you provide what they need to become better. This is not, oh, leave them, let them do whatever they want. Nah, none of that. We ain't doing none of that. It's about to be 2021. We can do better than this. I'm a young mom. I made my mistakes. In my upcoming vlogs, you're going to hear most of the mistakes I've made. They're going to be discussed in different subjects, you know, so you understand what I mean by I made mistakes. But my job is to fix those things. No matter how tired I am, no matter how stressed I am, and make sure I dedicate time to my child, because she did not ask to be here. All the kids that pop out these days did not ask to be here. Make sure there is balance in your family. And for you single moms out there, God bless you. God bless you. It takes a village to raise a child, and the fact that you get to do it yourself without crying, without begging. I mean, we all need love sometimes, but you do it. You do it, and you stay true to yourself. See, you could insult me on any aspect of my life, but when it comes to motherhood, you cannot touch me. Because on the days I wanted to fall, I stood up. On the days I wanted to cry, I wiped those tears off. And on the days I felt the weakest, I got up. Because guess what? I might not have a baby daddy, but I have God on my side. And another thing for you young women that think it's cute to have children randomly with just anybody, don't do it. Don't put your child through that, because in the end of the day, you'll be the one to be punished for it. You're going to suffer for it, so don't do it. Young mothers, God bless you. Single mothers, you guys are awesome. I know what it is. I know some days are so hard, but listen, keep going, keep fighting, and just learn to be better for yourself. Stay tuned for my upcoming vlog. I know this one is long, but passion got me, okay? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow me on Instagram at Take a Walk. Follow me on Instagram at Miss_Goldilocks.